tall guys in here today? Any tall people? Any tall guys? Anyone really tall? No? So I'm the height I am now, like I'm 6'2". I was 6'2" when I was 14. I grew like between 11 and in 3 years I grew from like a little guy to like a really, really tall guy. And I ended up really gangly and like walking around like that. And I looked like somebody had like sellotaped like 4 strings of spaghetti together and just kind of had them around. So very coordinated. So as a result, I wouldn't get picked for football teams, I wouldn't get picked for in PE, all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until martial arts and it wasn't until like later on in life when I actually discovered, hey, I'm not a giant uncoordinated gonk. I just grew really fast. But during that time, during the teenage years in particular, sports weren't really open to me because you needed to be picked, you needed to play. Now things are different now, especially with Gaelic. The Gaelic game is brilliant. GA are brilliant because it's like, hey, I'm the 25th man on the team, but we're going to make a team for you, my friends. Come on in. They'll welcome you into it. It's much more welcome. During the 1980s and 1990s, I know that's when I grew up, by the way. I know I don't look that age. It's okay. I know I look really young. You guys can say it out there if you want to. All right, fine. But it was very different. So what we try to do here when we get people in, and even what we try to do now is we try to make an environment where anybody can train, regardless of whether you're like 6'5" and full of muscles like this, or you're 4'2" and 4'2" wide. Right? That's what we always say to people. It doesn't matter whether you're really athletic and you're able to do lots of sports, you're able to jump really high, run really fast, super flexible. That's great. You're going to get out of the way. Super. Congratulations. Or you're going to come in here and it's your first taste of sport ever, like in 15 years of life. The first time you've ever done an organised sport, you're going to walk in here, you're not going to be able to hop on one foot, do a push-up, or do anything else, no problem. You can take your time here. Nobody's going to complain when the ball gets past you and you don't pass directly back. You can take your time here. And over time, actually, the best students we've had here, some of the best students we've had here, have been the ones who walked in as the worst athletic specimens we've ever seen. And that's true, absolutely true. One of our black belts, not this one, we're going to start that. One of our black belts, I swear to God, was one of the most uncoordinated people I've ever seen in my life. And the least athletic, actually he still is, incredibly. But he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and he'd kick all your asses at once. Even though he's no athletic ability and no strength, not no strength, of course. But sometimes I wonder, how does he have the strength to push the duvet off himself in the morning and get out of bed? And yet he can come up here and he can choke people and he can armbar people and all that kind of stuff. That's the glory of Jiu-Jitsu, guys. That's the great thing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. What you're going to learn today is that you don't need athletic ability. You don't need to be strong. In fact, it's made and designed around the idea that a smaller, weaker person can outthink and out-technique a stronger, more athletic person. And you're going to see a couple of bits of that today. So in fact, Jiu-Jitsu is predicated around the idea that it's not how strong you are and how fit you are and how aggressive you are, it's how much you know. And don't get me wrong, being strong, being fit, and being able to carry a fight for long periods of time, very, very handy, very good things to have, good qualities. We focus a lot on our fitness here, we make sure we're really well conditioned, but that's not the central idea. In a fight where two people are just as strong as each other, it's the smarter guy who wins. The smarter guy. So you're going to learn how to be smart today. First, we're going to burn off some of that energy that you have. We're going to get warmed up and loosened out. I can see some of you are looking a bit cold and chilly. Don't worry, you will not be for long. Okay? Is everybody ready to go? Yeah. Okay, so the first section, what we're going to do is we're going to do a really simple, we're going to do some headlock defense and we're going to do some defense against a strike. We're going to show a really simple takedown, simple from me now, and then I'm going to teach you how to make somebody unconscious in about 5 seconds. How's that sound? Yes, everybody's very excited about that one. That's not usually the way I describe it. When I say, okay, today we're going to learn a choke, but I prefer the learning how to make somebody unconscious in about 5 seconds. I prefer that because it's like, oh yes, I fancy that. Pushed in the face is not a skill. Okay? So what are we going to do? We're facing somebody who's really aggressive, they're swinging at us, based upon that evidence, right, that we know that the person who's more aggressive than the other person is probably going to win, since both people don't have a clue what they're doing. What are we going to do? Well, we got to attack with knowledge, right? So we got to come back with knowledge. It's the only way we can defend ourselves, is to be actually, well, okay, I'm used to this, I'm smarter than this person, and I know that there's something I can do. Because if I stand here like this, and the two of us are just doing this, and he's the most aggressive person, I'm like tossing a coin. I'm hoping that I hit him. Okay, that's not what I want. So, he's going to throw a punch, and we're actually going to do something counterintuitive. Instead of running away from the punch or leaning back from the punch, we're going to go towards. We're going to go right at his chest. Right? That's where we're going. So when he throws the punch, I'm going there. Right at his chest. I'm going to keep my hands up nice and high. I'm going to use my natural defense, which is flinching. If he tries to hit you, throws a ball at you, you bring your hands up to protect your head. That's a very good instinct. We're going to use that natural instinct, and we're going to charge at his chest until our elbows touch his chest. Okay? We're going to charge like a bull. So when he goes here, I'm going to make my way towards him. As soon as I do, I'm going to slip one hand underneath here like this. I'm going to try and control him really high. I'm not going to try and grab his hands or block his hands. I'm going to control his shoulder. Okay? And now I'm going to push his head away from me. Now, if he tries to slip out, there's only one thing he's going to be able to do, and that's to try and pull his hand out. Okay? So I need to move before that, right? So from here, he's going to try to slip out. I'm going to duck underneath his arm, and I'm going to come around behind him. I'm going to get behind him like this. Now, this is what we call a seatbelt, and this is going to form the first part of today, and it's very, very important. One arm over the top, one arm underneath, connect your hands together, and squeeze. Squeeze your elbows tight. You're just behind him. Okay? That's the first part. Get behind your partner. What are his options available to strike or punch you? Very limited. He can kind of knock on your face and try and like swing his head around, but when you're behind somebody, it's very difficult for him to hurt you. Okay, you're in charge. Okay, so we've gone from him being really, really aggressive, trying to hit you, to us being behind him, and we've got a bit of control. That's not where we're going to finish today. We've got other things to do, but this is the first stage. So let's look again. He's trying to hit me. I protect myself, slip my hand underneath, push his head away, duck. And I get up top here. Notice that I'm really close to him. I'm hanging off him. My knees are bent, and he's struggling to keep his balance. Take your time. We're not going to try and belt each other in the head too much. Take your time with your partner. Use that duck under. Go to their back. Attach the seatbelt. Are we happy? Okay. Me and Nate are going around. So if you have a problem and you don't understand anything, let's encourage one thing today. If you can do one thing for me today that's going to really help you all day, it's this. I'm telling you, the amount of people who just go, I'll just muddle along because I'm afraid of asking the coach. Don't be afraid. That's what we're here for, okay? Stick your hand up and we will run as fast as we can to get to you, okay? Clear? Okay. Remember, keep each other safe. If I look around, somebody's throwing like overhand rights to try and knock the guy out. Okay? Then we've got a small problem, alright? One last thing before we go, we're going to count down from 3, and when I clap, everybody's going to clap together. When I get to 3, everybody's going to clap together. Or when I get to 1. The reason for that is we're going to switch on, okay? So that's what we do here. We go 3, 2, 1, and once we all clap, we're ready to train. Everybody clear? Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. When we do this position here, we get to here, the guy goes, oh, bingo. I can grab the guy's head. Or they grab your head here. So we spoke about getting behind, right? We spoke about getting behind your opponent. Who's in charge here? For now, yeah.
You would think that.
You would think that. For now, he's got my head and he can squeeze, and it's not great. My arms are free, he's got my neck, and 90% of me is behind him. So we're going to use that to our advantage. I still have to break this grip. First thing I'm going to do is feed this arm in here to try and block his arm and put a bit of pressure here at his elbow. Okay? Everybody see that? So I'm going to wrap that in there so he can't punch me with this hand. I'm going to put some pressure here as well. Next one goes to his hand that's grabbing my head, and it goes aggressively to whatever point I can. If you see his wrist here, grab his wrist. If he's got this hand on top, switch your hands, go to his hand. Alright. Don't pull up, that's where he's strong. Pull back. Here. And use your body weight. Look at my body weight moving. Here. What's next? Duck under. And you're on his back. As soon as you can free your head, you can duck under. Where it's actually dangerous and where people don't get used to it, just do the same stuff, Jesse. Where What people always do is they actually break here and they try and like reverse away. And they reverse away with their head, and then what happens here? So what I'm trying to teach you is to stay close to your opponent. When you have control, stay in control. When you get behind them, stay behind them. So when they grab your head this time, hand feeds in, other hand to the lowest point. If he's hitting his hand, you see, so if this hand's in front, grab his wrist. But don't grab this hand, you've already got it. Don't grab this hand. Grab the one that's got your neck. What you're going to do, aggressively pull it backwards towards your chest. If you do it this way, it's no good. Watch my feet. They shuffle back. Now his body weight is on it. This is an uncomfortable position for his arm, so very often they'll just let go of your head. And you won't even have to duck under. If he doesn't know what he's doing, he'll just let go of your head. Here's a hint. If he doesn't know what he's doing, he'll be the one grabbing your head. Because people who don't know what they're doing grab heads all the time. That's what they do. They think, I want to grab this guy, I'm going to grab him by the head. But to us, that's a mistake.
It's an insult.
Pathetic. So if you grab him in here like this, I go, ha! You fool! Like that. Catch here like this. Reef and pull the hand backwards behind him to break the grip, but only to break the grip. Now, either he brings his hand over or you got to duck, one or the other. If you're ducking, duck with your knees, power up, catch his back, and I really want to see you get close to him. So what we want to imagine is mammy chin, baby chin on the back. Okay, hang on tight. All right, backpack them completely. Hang the weight off and have them like stagnant. Are we ready to go with that? So headlock defense there, guys. Headlock escape. Then we're going to go with our throw after that. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Top hand in your seatbelt. Top hand, the one that's over the shoulder. That's the one that does the choke. That's the choking hand. Choking hand, helping hand. If you remember, we don't sit against the wall here. Yeah, good man, thanks. So choking hand, helping hand. Right? We're not going to get those two confused because sometimes what we'll do is we'll go one, the other one goes around the neck. There's only one goes around the neck, choking hand, the one on top. Top hand is choking hand. As we move the top hand, the choking hand around, I'm going to grab his shoulder here like this. Alright? At that stage, helping hand is still underneath. But once I get around and grab his shoulder, and hide it under my chin like this, I'm going to take my helping hand out and punch it behind his head. And interlace my fingers onto my bicep, the top part of my arm. Okay? I make a fist behind his head, and as I inhale, and then exhale, I squeeze gently. And that's how long I want to see it take. If anybody comes up here like that, I'm going to do a hard work. Okay, maybe he taps. But if I don't, my arms get tired, and he escapes. So we want to be like an anaconda with a prey. Okay? What we don't want to be like is like trying to decapitate your opponent. So slip it around here. Okay? Helping hand still underneath. Shoulder goes forward. Punch behind. Grab your own bicep. Head close to his head. Inhale. And as you exhale. And that will do. As soon as I feel the tap, I release. Make sense? Okay. If you tap your opponent and he doesn't release, please let me know. I would love to meet him. Okay? And I'll choke him next. Alright? We'll see what happens. Okay? So look. Ass over. Just make sure, guys. Can we see, guys, that he's got a big chin with my elbow? Big chin. So don't be like this where he can see your hand. If you can see your hand, he's going to grab your hand. So pass all the way around. Can you see my hand? Behind him. Push the shoulder. Can he still see? Can he see any of my hands? Good, because that means when he goes to try and grab my hands, pull them away from his neck, it's useless to him. And he's going to have to. Okay. Be very careful. I know I gave you like that big warning at the start, right? But that's like the warning at the beginning of like WWE, the Royal Rumble. These people are trained professionals and should not be, you know, all that kind of stuff. But you guys can do it really, really safely, really, really simply there with that. Okay? Are we good to go? Yeah. Okay, hands out. 3, 2, 1. So, if you're behind your opponent, it's good for you. If he's behind you, it's bad for you. If you're on top of your opponent, generally speaking, it's good for you. If he's on top of you, it's bad for you. The worst position where your opponent is on top is the mounted position where he's going to be sitting across your belly. And we're going to have a look at this position. So let's go. So. Okay. I'm interested in your thoughts. He's about to punch me, strike me, like do whatever he wants here basically. What are my options? Me. Go. Shout him out. No wrong answer. Okay, one at a time, please. Protect the face, really good. Grab his head. Someone say grab his head. I'm going to grab his head. So I reach up anytime. He's going to grab his head or his arms. I expose my own arms. And he's going to arm lock me. Okay? If he knows what he's doing. If he doesn't know what he's doing, my hands are away from my face. So guess what's going to happen? Okay? I'm going to get some to take some damage. So somebody said protect the face. That's a really good one. That's a good place to start. Anything else?
Weave. Dodge and weave.
Dodge and weave. It's very hard, isn't it? But keeping my head moving is a good idea. Anything else? Throw him off. Okay. Thrust. That was it. That was a technical explanation. Thrust. I like it. Thrust thy opponent. Toss him wildly into the winds. Thrust is a good word though. We are going to use that. I'm slagging you, but that is a good term that we're going to use. Anything else? Someone says there's over here. Say around. Say again. Lock your feet around it. Yeah, there is a version of this. Around his legs. Quite hard, isn't it? Knee him in the back. Not very effective. Roll over. Okay. Do you guys know the show QI? Everybody's too old, too young in here for QI. Okay, when they say like a wrong answer, it's a big like alarm goes off. You know, the obvious. Roll over is one of them. People say that, or try and roll them off. So there's two big mistakes here, guys, that I'm trying to get across. The first is to reach up. I need to protect my head, and I need to look after some, which we'll explain in a second, another position as well. The second one is roll over. I'm going to try and roll them away. Anytime I turn my back, I give my back. Worse still if I don't even get to my knees and I end up belly down. Worst position in Jiu Jitsu probably, end up belly down. That's the end of the fight. Chokes and punches. Pretty terrible. So I'm never going to roll away. Okay, I'm never going to roll away unless, okay? In a few moments we're going to use a thrust, which is what we are going to do, genuinely, but that was the... So, first things first, this is bad. This is worse. This is even worse. Okay? So, what are we going to do? If I open my elbows here, I can make life pretty hard for myself. He's going to like stretch me up here, and if he gets his knees underneath my armpits, life is horrible. Okay? So what am I going to do? I'm going to keep my elbows close. I'm going to keep my head slightly off the mat, curled up like this. And yeah, I can move my head to try and avoid the punches as much as possible. But really what I want to do is get out of here. Okay? So, with my feet close to my butt here like this, the first thing I'm going to do is try and get his hands on the mat behind me, and I'm going to use my hips for that. Okay? I reach up. Once his hands are on the mat, I can shoot one hand up in between and wrap one hand here like this. Okay? Now I'm grabbing his hand above the elbow on the tricep nice and tight. Now we can roll away because we've secured one arm. Okay? Bring your feet back to your butt again. Cock your head to the side, and on the side of the arm that's strapped, we can bridge and roll away this time because we trapped his arm. Let's look again. Elbows close, moving my head all the time, and in fact very often when he's trying to punch you is when he's most off balance. So when he's throwing the punches, catch his arm, come up to here. Okay. When you're gripping his arm, we're not going to try to grab like the wrist, okay? Try to get that solid bite, what we call an overhook or whizzer, on his tricep, okay? Once again with your partner, we're coming around, so make sure that you're good space, lots and lots of room, okay? And give us a question if you need, okay? 3, 2, 1. Nice one, guys. I can teach you a sweep from the clothes guard. I can teach you how to choke a person with their own clothes. Or we can just like go home.
Close.
Hands up for the closed one. Hands up for the sweep, which is a turnover.
Oh, sweet.
Sweep is like turnover. Choking someone with their own clothes. Hands up. I can't believe nobody wants to learn a choke. I can't believe that. How about I do both? Alright. So let's start with the sweep because it uses the same principle. Okay? So when we've been reversed, you notice you landed in like a position with your partner's legs wrapped around you. That's what we call the closed guard. And the closed guard is a method of controlling an opponent who's on top, okay, trying to get access to their arms or neck, or trying to turn them over. And it's the best way of being on bottom, but it's still not a very, very good idea in a fight. We don't want to be on bottom all the time. However, sometimes you end up on bottom, and this is our optimal position to be in when we are. Okay? So, we got reversed, if you remember, and we were in the closed guard. So from here, I'm going to wrap my legs around him, and now, this time, because he's a little bit further away, and I stretch away to keep him away, bring my knees close to bring him forward, or even keep him moving all the time to keep his balance off base. Now I can start to look for his wrists and try to control his hands. Okay? If they're wearing something with long sleeves, you can just grab a handful of it here like this, okay? And there's special ways to grip. We'll show you guys who have long sleeves on how to do that in a second. But if not, I'm going to take a really tight grip around his wrist here like this and try to get 2-on-1. Okay, here for now. So 2 hands on his one arm, and I'm going to press it to my chest. Okay? Everybody sees that? Now, I'm going to lift my hips up for a second. Take this hand, okay, so you can see it's the same side hand I grabbed, same as when we did the escape earlier. And I'm going to shoot this hand underneath his legs. Okay? I'm going to show you in full speed what we're doing first. Secure it. Okay? What we call pendulum or flower sweep. But for here, let's do it nice and slow. Secure one hand here. Remember, he can still like struggle with the other hand. This is a fight, so I need to do this quickly. When I'm ready to do it, I do it like quickly. Secure it and nail it to your chest. And what I mean by that is if I hold it up here, he just like circles it out and it's gone. But if I bring it here, he can still circle, of course, and move. But when I push it, it's like pinning something against the wall. So I've got like a fraction of a second more to secure his hand nicely. Lift your hips up, put your hand between his legs. What you're going to do then, open your legs and try to move yourself so that your head becomes close to his knee. Look at my hand going underneath his leg, it goes right in. And he's almost like his weight is on top of my hamstring here. Little scissors motion with my leg, and then I'm back on top. Okay, let's see it again. Slightly different angle then for everybody. So you can see where my hand is going. I secure one hand, lift my hips up, so I make room underneath here and put him a little bit off balance. My hand shoots underneath, it goes behind his knee. You see what that does to his leg, right? Test it. Bring it out towards me here, and then I use my legs and my hips, not trying to roll them. Remember what we said about the tabletop? The table legs. I'd already taken one table leg away, right? And then we're back up on top. Yeah? We're going to give that a shot. Okay, we're going to do it in a specific way. So we have a mount escape and we have a sweep. So let's do the mount escape into the sweep. So we can drill these two together. Okay, one person does about 5 or 6 of the sweeps, and the other person does about 5 or 6 of the uppers, or the mount escapes. Then we're going to switch over. Does that make sense to everybody? Everybody have to go? Questions? Hands up. We're right there, okay? Great, so you're going to get to like mutter the immortal lines. Or maybe not so immortal. I don't know. So when you walk in from school today, you know, you walk in and my dad says, well, how was school today? And you go, oh, all right. What you do? None. Not much. Today you're going to say, today, ma'am, I learned how to render a man unconscious with his own clothes. Now, if you guys ever get to say that line again in your whole life, I would be very, very surprised. But today, that's what we're going to do, right? So the same rules apply for when we had the choke that we did earlier, okay, the rear naked choke. Okay? Same rules apply for tapping and all that kind of stuff. This uses a slightly different method with the same principle. Okay? So, there's one thing we're going to learn, first of all, from your thumb knuckle to the bottom of your radius bone here, about this sort of 3 to 4 inches here, is going to be what we're going to use, but we're going to use our clothes to help. Okay? You can use a t-shirt, or you can use a hoodie, or anything else. It doesn't really matter. As long as the guy's got a collar, you can use this. Okay? We use the kimono, the gi, okay, to use this. There's a gi choke, but the very same principle works with clothes. Okay? So, he's going to be in my clothes guard again, and this time he's like really hard to move, and he's got big base like on either side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up one side of his t-shirt, and I'm going to reach around and grab the tag of his t-shirt with my thumb on the outside. Okay? I'm going to grab another part of his t-shirt just above it, here like this on the same side. And then I'm going to use my legs a little bit, bring it towards me, and I'm going to cross this arm back over his neck. And now from here, a pinch. That's what we got. Now it's a t-shirt choke. We're holding the t-shirt. We're not choking with the t-shirt. We're actually using our hands, and the t-shirt provides the anchor. Okay, we're going to pull his clothes apart. So reach up, catch the tag. So make sure your index finger is on the tag. Make a fist and make it tight, and make sure that this part that we just explained there is facing towards his neck. So thumb towards his neck, not like the back of your hand towards his neck or any other part. Thumb towards his neck in here, thumb towards his neck like that. Catch the back of the t-shirt just above it. Knees towards, cross over, and it should feel tight. Right now it should feel like I'm gripping really, really tight, and that the t-shirt itself or the top itself is very, very hard to. I hope none of you wore your beautiful brand new t-shirts today. Okay? Because they're going to get stretched a little bit. Okay? And now knees towards you, elbows doing the squeezing like he's in the middle of a scissors. Okay? So, step 1, open the t-shirt up, feed your fingers in. Step 2, grab just above those fingers on the back of his tongue. Step 3, bring your knees towards, X over his head, so that you've got this cross position here like this, because it's what we call a cross collar choke. And now to finish, bring him to you. Don't try and choke him like this. Bring him to you. Okay. This might feel a bit sharper than the previous ones. The previous choke we did. Sharper in the way that you'll feel it a bit more tight, a bit pinchier. Okay? That's no problem. Apply it slowly using the same principle of exhaling that we did before. Good to go? Yeah. Let's try it. 3, 2, 1. People come to me and they ask me, and over the years, we've had like tons of, Nate was a teenager here, and like we've had tons of guys coming through the teen years, and you know, and all of the pitfalls and the potential little traps that you guys are coming up against right now. And I hand them a script. I say, you can blame me, blame your coach. If you're walking up and some guy's like, okay, do you want some of this? And you go, I don't want to appear like a pussy and not take it, or not take a drag, or not take a drink, or whatever it is. Say, blame Nigel. Man, if Barry caught me doing that, say to him, if Barry caught me doing that, he will bounce my head off of that. I'm not going to kick him. If Barry caught me doing that, there's no way I'm going on my trip. No way. No, there's another great one that we use up here actually as well, which is drug testing. We tell them there's no drug testing underage, right? It doesn't happen. But we say, look, tell them you're going to be drug tested at your next tournament. You know? And you'll be disqualified. And they go, okay. And people are actually comfortable with that. They don't want to necessarily, you know, take drugs or go somewhere or do anything like that. And I'm not just talking about drugs, I'm also talking about like fighting, combat, like, you know. So when the guys turn around and go, you know there's going to be a row, you know there's going to be fights, or some guy's beefing with somebody else. I love the language you guys use on Snapchat, by the way. Postcode beef.
The ops.
The ops. Oh, man. Crazy. I think it's like, what is going on? So, But when the people are getting involved in that, you know, I say to people, I say to kids that I coach, I say, no, if that ever happens, you say, if I get caught fighting, I'm going to be kicked out of my club. If I catch you fighting by the way up here, this guy goes out and he gets in a row, I'm not going to kick him out. I'm going to bring him in. I'm going to say, okay, what happened? Tell me what happened. And if you made a mistake, you made a mistake. We're going to work on the mistake so you don't make it twice. You keep making it twice, 3 times. Okay, maybe then we're talking about getting rid of you. But most of the time, somebody gets in a row, gets in a fight, something happens, they get in trouble with the cops, they get in trouble with like their parents, they get in trouble with friends. It's not because they wanted to, it's because they made a mistake. So what we try to do is we try to stop you making a mistake. And that's the first thing about self-defense, is like, don't make those mistakes. Trust that gut feeling and have an idea, have a plan of how you're going to stop it. And the easiest plan is your parents. Parents are great, right? Probably not all of the time, but you know. Parents are great because you can chuck them under the bus anytime, right? So where you turn around and someone's gonna like trying to convince you to do something you're not comfortable with. What I say to people is like, you know, if this, you know, like if you're, I'm going to use you as an example, okay? You're going out, something you're not comfortable with, you don't want to do it, it's great. What's your mom like?
Sorry, what?
What's your mom like? She's alright, she's nice, she's okay. I say to people, I say to you, tell your friends or tell that person that your mom is a psychopath. She is the second coming of Satan. She like throws your clothes, she shreds your clothes when you're not wearing your favorite stuff. She burns your TV. She chucks, that's what she's going to do if you get caught doing this. So, no, my mom is a psycho. And you walk home, and you come home that night, and you can say to your mom, "Mom, I threw you under the bus tonight. I called you all of the names under the sun. I used some of the worst language I've ever used about you. I called you this, that, and whatever." You can list them off. You can use the worst language possible. And you can say, "But I did it because." And she'll be so glad that you call her those names. Right? She'll be like, "Oh, good job." Okay. Because at the end of the day, your parents are your buffer very often against things like that. And they can be like the best help you have, and also they can also be the enemy, you know? The very convenient enemy. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah?